Hour 2 of the RP Show brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. They actually support and sponsor the Chicago Blackhawks too, I learned. The player of the game brought to you by Culligan. Not Culligan Regina, I don't think. But maybe. It's your lucky day in that Alan May has not logged in yet. So unless you're a huge fan of LMA, then it is not your lucky day. But you got more of me if that's what you want, and I assume that's why you're here. So we can go back and forth on a lot of things, and I know for the CFL fans, a lot of you have showed up, and Scott in Vancouver had a million CFL questions last hour. We weren't talking about it then, but I know you all will hang around until we do. Just on that Dallas Cowboys thing, and Jeremy in Winnipeg, you're a Chiefs fan anyways, but I'll allow your comment. He goes, it's still the Dallas Cowboys. They have talent. Don't get me going on the discussion that we talk about in the Cowboys Nation every year. Yeah, we have talent. Why are we not winning? Broken culture. I don't want to be on the soapbox like I was last week, but when I talk about great cultures, it doesn't matter the sport. Florida Panthers, Vegas Golden Knights, last two Stanley Cup champions, both owned and run by military West Point guys. By name, Vincent Viola and Bill Foley. They don't screw around. Team's got great culture. What did I tell you 4 years ago when I got here about the way I was treated? A lowly nobody like me. You know, stories. I love them. And apparently you do too. I told you I was talking to that Panthers employee on Saturday during their game against Boston. And he was saying how the Oilers have become this huge destination thing. It's really cool. Bravo, Edmonton. You throw in the mall, you throw in whatever. It's a great destination, as he said. And he was talking about the downtimes with the Panthers where the team was deciding which bills to pay as a team. And, you know, payroll was sketchy and all that. And I said, when did that change? He goes, when Vincent Viola bought the team. Because we weren't winning, but nobody had to worry about being paid. There was no monkey business going on. And look what happened. So that's all that. In Dallas, I don't know Jerry well enough. I don't know him at all. I've met him, but I don't know him. There's a difference. But he seems like the kind of guy that would jerk people. He did. He jerked around Mike McCarthy. I'm not going to let you interview in Chicago, knowing in the back of his mind he was going to fire him in less than a week. That tells you all you need to know about the Dallas Cowboys. So talent or not, those types of teams don't win. They just don't. And it's interesting because a lot of you have brought up some CFL stuff here. And there are a lot of CFL fans. So Cameron Judge, who's a very good friend of mine, for a long time was traded by the Calgary Stampeders on Friday to the Toronto Argonauts. And what is he a heart and soul guy? He's a pretty quiet guy, but he's a hell of a football player. And he was dealt to Toronto. And however you want to believe it or what you want to make of it, he didn't even know he was being shopped until he gets the call, oh, by the way, you've been traded to Toronto. But he loved Calgary. Thought he was part of what they're doing there, and he's an Argonaut. What? Say whatever you want. That's not how you should handle your people, I don't think. So we'll see where Calgary goes. BW in Edmonton says, the new Flames play-by-play guy's voice sounds too much like Kelly Rudy's. It's hard to listen to it. Trucking down the highway. Can't tell who's doing what during the broadcast. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in. He says, Vladimir Guerrero, 1-year deal. Feels like there's hope that he'll stay long-term, or am I being delusional? Hey, Rich in Edmonton says they did do a great job on Rogers Place in the Ice District. Isn't it wonderful when a plan comes to fruition? That's what they wanted to do, and it happened. Some might say they manifested it. Asking the audience who's your favorite former players and former coaches that are now analysts on TV. And I meant football. It kind of morphed over to hockey, and that's on me. I don't think I was clear enough. But James Warnicki writes in and says, love Chris Collinsworth. Well, I would like to say this again. It's the National Football League, and it's network television. I'd like to think they're all good. Like, who's bad on there? Nobody. In the NFL. Hey, Clark, perk up for a sec. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes, and he says, Luke Wilson is the best ex-player on Canadian TV. When is he coming to the RP show, Rod? What's the latest on that, Clark? Because he said he was coming on this week. But I don't think that's been locked down, right? Or tuna? Okay. Here's the thing. Players going to be players. And if you know, you know. But he DM'd me. I have the receipts. He wants to come on and said he was available this week, and now we have not, haven't locked it down. But we will. Luke Wilson will be on this show. Hopefully this week. I don't know. I try to stay in my lane. I know it's a really weird concept, but I try to just stick to what pertains to me. I don't book the guests. That's why I wanted to ask Clark, but Clark's not even in his chair. So it's one of those weeks, it seems like. Brought up the Cameron Judge thing because Kirk in Toronto writes in and says, Cameron Judge, you look good in double blue. I feel like anybody would. Those jerseys are just so hot. It's a good thing that we got a lot of time for me to get out what I want to get out here. We've covered the NFL extensively today. We've covered the NHL extensively, and we actually brushed on the college football. I do want to spend a second on a few of the CFL items that are out there. For instance, that Scott in Vancouver wrote in and said, what's happening with the schedule? Guy, you've been asking every day. I'm not following the story. Go to 3 down or what. I don't want to get on their ass for that. Because who likes people being on their ass? I don't know. I see the report that came from our guy Farhan that this year the CFL will not be playing marquee games, Touchdown Atlantic, Touchdown Pacific. For the reasons that, let's just say because they're not moneymakers. We could go deeper than that, but it would be better for these teams to host home games than playing a neutral site game. It makes them more money. I don't agree with it, but I'm not an owner. Let me just put me down as saying I don't agree with it. But they've made a lot of, we've got Alan now, they've made a lot of penny pinching comments, a lot of penny pinching decisions of late that it's their team, it's their money, there's nothing we can do about it. It's their league, it's their money. All right, Alan May, I appreciate you jumping on with us. We won't keep you too long. Thanks, Al, for doing this. I want to start with this. You've seen the standings. 3-way tie for first in the National Hockey League as we sit here today. One of those is your team, the Capitals, on January 13th. Would you have laid money on that bet in like September or August?
Not in September or August. And I remember when I spoke to you during the preseason, I had mentioned I thought the Caps would be battling for first place in the Metropolitan Division, not the entire Eastern Conference, and certainly not at the top of the league. I just thought they did such an incredible job over the offseason of systematically replenishing their roster. Very Bill Belichick-like when he was with New England in their heyday. And I thought it was a work of art, the way they put it together structurally, financially, and just putting the players they needed. Not the shiny, flashy new things, but just going methodically and filling those slots.
Do you want to name any of them? Some are popping into my head, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Well, I think the biggest thing when you start on the Capitals, a year ago, they couldn't score goals. They couldn't get the puck out of their zone. And when you look at what they were able to do starting on the blue line, 2 guys that are 6'2", Jacob Chikrin, who's been scoring goals and moving the puck, and who's been known to do that. Always on a bad team. You never know how good these players are, like an Oliver Ekman-Larsson. When he finally gets to a good squad, he's a very complimentary player. By having Chychrun in the lineup, all of a sudden it pushes Sandin and Martin Fehervary down the lineup. They don't have to go over and above of what their skill sets and their expectations are. And then you bring in Matt Roy, who may be the best defensive defenseman in the National Hockey League, and I think would have guaranteed Toronto a Stanley Cup or an appearance in the finals. And those two guys pushing everyone down the lineup, now they've got puck movers all over the place. They've got the simple path. They've got bigger players that are very good at playing in their own zone. And it starts there, and then you add your goaltending. Charlie Lindgren's been a surprise the last 2 years, and he's been an MVP basically for the Capitals last season especially. This year you had Logan Thompson, an unappreciated maybe in Vegas. He gets here, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's 6'3", 6'4" goaltender. He's 18-2-3. You start by building defense, and you look at those three guys alone. That is a spectacular, rebuild of the roster just with those players right now.
Until last year, I say this as respectfully as I can, Spencer Carberry, I don't think was a household name in his own house. Now he's got to get some consideration for Coach of the Year. Like, if not him, then who?
Well, he's certainly in that talk. It's been, what he was able to do with the roster last year with a team that had no business being in the playoffs. They found a way to dumb their hockey down, and they didn't hit, they didn't skate fast, they weren't scoring goals. They would win a low-scoring, close game if they were able to score first. If they were scored on first, they were done, and they lost by a large margin. But he got a buy-in. At least they made the playoffs, but they knew there's no way you can play hockey like that and ask the players to play a hockey where you're not going to put up numbers. You want to get paid, you want to play in the playoffs, all of that. This year with the better roster, they're able to elevate their game offensively. But I think it starts with moving the puck out of the zone. Things they did last year. They wrapped the puck around the boards. Now they go tape to tape. They have defenders that can move the puck out of the zone, and your forwards can gain the offensive zone with possession, skating high speeds. Last year, it was a wrap around the boards, a long pass to a dump in, and then retreat. And what Carberry's been able to do, adapt to the lineup this year, shows that he's a quality coach and definitely should be in that consideration. We still have half a season to go here, so it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Al, I only got one more for you. You talk Capitals all the time. It's your job. You do it well. But if you don't mind me saying, you live in Texas, and whether you're a Cowboys fan or not, you couldn't escape it. I'm, by the way, a Cowboys fan, but I'm considering changing. And I've been lifelong, but I'm sick of Jerry Jones. I'm sick of him. What do you know? What do you think? You see Mike McCarthy's out. Could anybody be successful there?
I think you have to bring in an alpha that controls everything, the roster. When I would think of a Bill Belichick type of guy, he would, if it were to be him, it's not going to be him. But a man like him that would go in there and have to run the roster and not allow Jerry Jones to make personnel decisions or contract offers that basically cripple the team. Jerry Jones is a great businessman, and he's proven not to be a great general manager. When he had that alpha in there and Jimmy Johnson, they totally transformed the Cowboys in record time, all those Hall of Fame players that they drafted and developed. And it's time. And if he just continues to bring guys in that are puppets, I do not think they're going to win. There has to be a hierarchy where the head coach is the boss of the roster, and he's the boss of the players on the field and determines everything that goes on. And, living there and seeing what he's built an entire little town in the town that I live in, and what he's done with the stadium, incredible businessman. I love that part of him, but the football team has been a disaster, it feels like, since basically he started calling all of the shots on and off the field.
You ever thought of being a football analyst, Al?
Not a chance. They don't work enough.
I get it. Hey, well, you do a wonderful job of it. Listen, thanks for jumping on today, Al. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right. Take care, Rod. Talk to you soon.
From Monumental Television Network in Washington, Capitals analyst Alan May. I'm going to tell you something. We can go back and forth with your comments the rest of the way. What a Pandora's box we've got today. Talking NHL, NFL, CFL. That's our wheelhouse. And we'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus. Streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.